All right, welcome back. It's 10 minutes before 7. It's not often that we get the weatherman to sit on the couch with us to have a conversation, but I think after the week that we've had and some of the storms that have been coming around, particularly here in the Gauteng area, but that's been this week. But in the previous weeks, I mean, there's been flooding and raining all over the country. It's been unbelievable, and yet we still find ourselves in the grip of a drought. So I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit confused, and I think we need to get a little bit more understanding, and hopefully Phil will be able to shed some light for us. I mean, Phil, we talk about what happened, these photographs and the visuals that we're showing right now. This is what happened on Wednesday in Gauteng. This is, I mean, if anybody had to tune in, you'd think this is not South Africa. I mean, this doesn't happen, especially not in Gauteng. Can you again give us an understanding of what a flash flood is? How did this happen?
Yeah, well, I mean, as you say, we're not used to this kind of thing. We don't really get such severe weather up here in Gauteng. But basically what we do get are severe storms, and this is what's led to the flash flooding. Basically, what we've seen is that over the past few months we haven't gotten a lot of rainfall, and everybody's been kind of saying there's a build-up. It's not necessarily that. What it is that we had some very warm conditions coming in, which lasted quite a long time, and convection built up, and we saw strong low-pressure systems coming along the eastern coastline, which just added to that. And all in all, we just got strong convection, which is rising air.
Yeah.
The faster the air rises, the bigger the storm will be effectively. And up here, we have a lot of dust in the air, causes a lot of electrical activity. So what we just saw was a lot of rainfall in a very short period of time. That's what leads to the flash flooding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing articles and headlines reading a once-in-a-century storm hits Joburg.
Yeah.
I mean, is it that rare here in Joburg? Could we see it happening? Because I know there's a lot of predictions for a lot more rain to come, but to that extent is the question we're asking.
Look, I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen in the next 100 years. It is more than likely to happen in the next 100 years. And we have seen rainfall this bad in the last 100 years. If you recall, just a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we saw very intense, massive hailstones falling, a huge hail shower that fell in the east rand of Johannesburg as well. And people are saying the same thing about that. So events like this are happening, and they're happening more regularly, and that is unfortunately a symptom of climate change.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of much larger storm events here in Gauteng, and a lot more severe weather happening.
Yeah, you know, one of the very interesting points that I did see being brought up, and my producer just reminded me again of it now. When you look at something like that, you worry about our drainage systems. And Phil, I know you're not a drainage and a development guy. It's not what you focus in on. But I mean, could that have helped the situation? I mean, if we had had adequate training on our highways and our roads, because the infrastructure is very old. I mean, and you know, we're not used to, as we keep on saying, these kind of rainfalls and floods that are happening. But surely we should have the proper drainage in sight in case these situations do happen.
Yeah, you would think that we should. The infrastructure is just not designed to deal with this amount of rainfall, and really, there is no infrastructure that you could design to deal with this. We would have to have drainage systems that would just be way too large to be practical, to deal with the amount of rainfall that we saw. So one way or another, we would have had flooding, whether our drainage systems were perfectly clean or not. But unfortunately, they're not. And our drainage systems do get blocked up by a lot of stuff that, you know, blankets, trash, you know, vegetation, things like that. Anything that goes into the drainage system is liable to block it. And unfortunately, a lot of drains were blocked. And our road systems, you know, again, unfortunately, just don't seem to be built to deal with this kind of rainfall.
Not ready with this. Okay, let's just look a little bit further. I want to talk about what's going to be, there's some warnings around the Tshwane area, which we'll get into now, but there's also warnings of further flooding and heavy, severe thunderstorms for today and the coming weekend in Gauteng. We're talking Free State, we're talking Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal. I don't know if I'm missing out anything. You can fill in the missing words, but weather conditions for the next day and the weekend. Yeah,
weather conditions for the next day. Well, we're expecting a lot of rainfall for today. Today is one of the stronger rainfall days that we're expecting, and we also do have that weather watch that was issued by the South African Weather Service. Again, the same watch that we got on Wednesday when we did have these flash floods. So everybody really should be aware that that is today's forecast. Not to say that this same thing is going to happen today, but it is a possibility that
Yeah.
could happen again. And we are likely to see severe thunderstorms coming in later this afternoon to most of the eastern interior of the country. So, as you said, those same provinces expecting a lot of rainfall and expecting these thunderstorms to pass as well today. The same thing coming into the weekend. We are expecting some places, not quite as widespread, but we are expecting that over some areas in the country. So we just have to keep an eye on it. And there is a lot of information out there, in fact. It's just that people don't necessarily know where to find it. The Weather Service has a lot of weather warnings that come up about 3 times a day. They're issued, and those are very important to take a look at in times like this when we have such dangerous conditions going on.
I'm not sure if it exists, but I think it's a good time for the Weather Service, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but they should get an SMS system in place where anybody that's registered with their system or whatever should send out a warning immediately and say, there is severe weather on its way, stay where you are. I mean, I think that we need a warning system in place.
Yeah, a subscription-based warning system definitely would help.
Very important. There's a couple of pointers that I found here that if in fact there is a flash flood, and I know you and I were trying to discuss it a bit, they were saying if there's a flash flood, do not drive through a flooded road or bridge. That is an imperative. I think if you see that, do not drive through it. Another one, if you're stranded in a tree or building, don't leave it to enter the floodwaters to wait for rescue services. All right, so if you're stranded in a tree or building, don't leave it. Stay there. Be aware of your car's limitations. This is a big one, and you're looking at this on your screen right now. Your car's limitations, if you drive through water that is 15 centimeters deep or more, your car could lose control and stall. That's half the size of a ruler.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think
People
that.
are
I think,
amazed.
I'm fine. I can get through this. It's not a problem. Furthermore, 30 centimeters of water is enough to float most cars. Can you believe that?
Again, that's an amazing thing. And then you lose complete traction, and then you end up getting washed down a river. So, and it's impossible to know exactly how deep the water is, especially when it's as dirty as it is in a flash flood because of all the stuff that it picks up. So it's just better not to go anywhere near fast-flowing water that you can see. It's the same as walking. People think that they can walk through fast-flowing water. I think it only takes about 5 centimeters I stand to be corrected,
knock you off your feet.
but I think it only takes about 5 centimeters of fast-moving water to knock you off your feet.
Wow.
And once you're knocked off your feet, there's no getting back up again. You're going to be washed wherever that flow is going.
Absolutely amazing. And this is the last one saying, well, you talk about 5 centimeters. This one is saying 60 centimeters of water can push your car. It can actually move your car and sweep your car away. There are many, many more. I'll try and tweet as many as we can and talk about this. But Phil, thank you. Thanks for talking to us. We thought it was very, very important. A lot of people have been asking this for this interview and asking that we do get to terms with what's going on the weather front. And you've heard it. You've got to brace yourself for a lot more rain ahead when it comes to this this coming weekend. And then I want you in your weather report to give us a Vaal update, how our dams are looking, because that's another story we'd like to speak about as well. Let's take a break, everybody. We'll have the news at 7 after this. Do stay tuned.